Today we'll be discussing the urinary system. Let's first take a look at the overview of the urinary system here. The urinary system is composed of the paired kidneys, the ureters, which are tubes that carry urine from the kidneys to the third part, which is a urinary bladder, where urine is stored. From there, urine will make its way out the urethra, out of the body. Now the kidney is made up of over 1 million of these structures. The functional unit of the kidney, called the nephron. So I've drawn in blue here the nephron. And what the nephron does is it filters the blood, substances from the blood in red here, will make its way into the nephron, and from there urine is formed and will make its way out. Alright, so let's take a look at the nephron, and let's go over the parts of the nephron first. Actually, before that, let's look at the blood supply into the nephron. Blood is brought into the nephron, and remember, there's like over 1 million of these little structures within each kidney. The afferent arteriole brings blood into this little bundle of capillaries called the glomerulus. And from here, then blood will make its way out the efferent arteriole. And again, 1 million or so nephrons each doing this. Substances from the blood then will make its way into the nephron, into this first part called the Bowman's capsule, or glomerular capsule. Okay, from here, the Bowman's capsule, what's called filtrate, okay, so what is filtered now is called filtrate. In here passes through first the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, so it's going to pass through a bunch of tubes. So the proximal convoluted tubule, PCT, here, then down into what's called the loop of Henle, or the nephron loop, all right, and then into the distal convoluted tubule, and then finally out the collecting duct, which collects urine from many different nephrons, and then will eventually take it and out of the body, out the ureters. Now I've drawn it in a very simplified manner. The nephrons are actually very twisted, and if you look in your textbook, they show you how twisted the tubules are, and in fact, you know, parts of it even flip around, and this distal convoluted tubule will pass along by these arterioles here, and that's important for function. So now let's talk a little bit about the function of the nephron. I've already mentioned that urine is produced, okay, but how is that done? And there are 3 main steps or important processes in the production of urine. And these processes are filtration. I've used that word already. The second thing is reabsorption. And the third process is something called secretion. So let's take a look where these 3 processes come into play in the nephron. Filtration. So substances from the blood will pass from the blood into the nephron, into this Bowman's capsule. But some substances are too large. Okay? They're too big to fit in the little openings and pores and such from the capillaries here, the glomerulus, and so they're just too big to pass into the Bowman's capsule. So it's very selective as far as what can make its way across. Okay? So filtration occurs on the basis of size, meaning small molecules can pass across, larger molecules such as, you know, cells, proteins, etc., must remain behind. What kinds of substances can pass? Small molecules, water, you know, glucose, ions, different things like that. Okay, then from here, now we have what's called filtrate. Filtrate will make its way into the proximal convoluted tubule. Now from here, the second process occurs, reabsorption. Reabsorption is the movement of materials, wanted materials, from the proximal convoluted tubule into the bloodstream. Now if you look at the picture, surrounding the nephron are a whole bunch of capillaries that are called peritubular capillaries that are all around the nephron. So substances that our body might want, okay, so I'm going to say this is number 1 here. This is number 2. Substances that our body wants and needs, such as glucose. We don't want to get rid of glucose. That's important in our bodies. Ions are important. Lots of other, amino acids, lots of things that our body wants to take back. Okay, because remember, whatever stays inside this nephron is going to exit our body as urine. Okay, so this process is called reabsorption, and reabsorption occurs on the basis of need. Okay, if we need it, we take it back. Now, reabsorption is going to occur throughout the nephron, not only in the proximal convoluted tubule, but the majority of reabsorption occurs there at the proximal convoluted tubule. And it's much longer. I just really shortened it and again made the nephron easy to see. The third process is called secretion. And secretion is kind of works opposite of reabsorption. Secretion allows us to take substances that we don't want, that could possibly be toxic to our body in large quantities, and it allows us to get rid of it. Okay, so any excesses that we might have in our bodies, such as, let's say, hydrogen ions. Too many hydrogen ions makes our blood too acidic. Potassium ions and other substances that could become toxic in our body are allowed to undergo the third process called secretion, where materials go from the blood, these peritubular capillaries, and make their way into the distal convoluted tubule to be rid of out the collecting ducts and then out the the ureters eventually. Okay, so secretion occurs on the basis of toxicity. Now, the nephron's an amazing structure. If we take a look at how much filtrate is produced in a day, it's like 180 liters. 180 liters of substances go from the blood into the nephron each day. And what that means, if we take, our whole volume of blood is like 3 liters. So, in one day, our whole volume of blood is filtered like over 60 times in a day, which is an incredible feat. And, basis on need and toxicity, we take things back in our body, we get rid of things. The main waste that we are trying to rid ourselves of, metabolic waste, would be urea. And, we make urea as a byproduct of the breakdown of amino acids and proteins in amino acids. So, urea is a small molecule that we're trying to actually get rid of. And then, other substances are going to go and come along with that. All right, I hope that was helpful in getting an overview of the urinary system.